My name is Kirsten McAfee, and today I will be reading my creative nonfiction piece called Rocky Mountain Majesty. Standing at the base of one of the many, many mountains in the Grand Tetons, I can only feel one way: small. An insignificant human being stands at the foot of the slope, head thrown back as far as the neck can bend, and yet the top of the mountain is still obscured by clouds. Past the wisps, the white snow caps jut into the sky like jagged knives cutting the blue expanse above. At a certain point, the vegetation even stops growing. The thick, green conifers give way to terrain too rocky, too steep for roots to take hold. At the base of the mountain, the forest is lush and heavy with the scent of pine trees and valley flowers. Overhead, the native birds sing to one another. The dull rush of water burbling over rocks breaks to the singing overhead. Creatures unseen rustle through the underbrush. The trail underfoot, beaten down by thousands who have come before, lead upwards. The dark soil, damp from melting snow, sticks to the bottom of my shoes. I look back and see shallow footprints left behind. Before arriving at the park, I decided that I had one goal in mind. Back home, surrounded by travel brochures, I found information of a waterfall that was supposed to be massive and breathtaking. The only way I can know if the waterfall is as beautiful as the pictures claimed is to adventure the mountain and find it myself. I have every intention of finding it. Willing to brave the trail and all that it holds, I make the trek. I have to, if I want to see the waterfall in all of its majesty. The higher the climb, the steeper the trail. As I hike, stopping to observe the thick ferns and wildflowers that dot the ground along the trail, I realize that my calves burn as I stand still. The angle at which my feet rest causes my muscles to remain tense. I find a huge boulder to rest on, to catch my breath on its sun-warmed surface. I lie back, feeling a dull heat soaking through my shirt, and I try to catch my breath. With every deep inhale through my nose, I take in the scent of sweet mountain air. I'm a Mississippi girl, and I'm used to humidity soaking the atmosphere by mid-May. Here, though, the air is easy to intake. The fragrant oxygen flows into my lungs, and I sit back up, renewed for the oncoming hike. Rolling my neck, I hop off the boulder and continue onwards. Further up, the trees begin to thin out. I stop again, both to catch my breath and to gape at the valley below. It's not the flat ground I had stood on at the foot of these grand mountains. Rocks from the mountain's distant peak have washed away and settled in the deep basin below me. The pine and fir trees around me create an odorous ring around the hollowed-out land. A gentle breeze stirs the wispy grass that covers the entire valley. For a moment, I contemplate finding a way down to the drooping fields. What fun it would be to race through the grass, even if I stumbled along the way. I then realize that I would have to find my way back up, and there doesn't seem to be a way to get out once I get in. For a moment, I want to stay rooted in this place forever, but there is still more to see. Ever onward. As I hike, I'm kept company by the wildlife. Squirrels, birds, and even a strange rodent known as a marmot follow me in my trek. Their various calls make me feel bigger than I am. The mountain stands testament to my minuscule size, but the woodland creatures that stay just out of sight remind me that I am not the smallest life on the mountainside. In search of the rushing water I have heard my entire hike, I press forward. Up here the air has thinned, or at least it feels as though it has thinned. My lungs ache, burn almost, as I try to get a full breath. I no longer smell the wildflowers or the pine trees. My nose has grown accustomed to their sweet scents. Briefly, I mourn the loss of my olfactory sense. I'm nearing the end of my journey. I haven't conquered the mountain as I set out to do, but the mountain has conquered me. Whether I want it to or not, I have to stop. Ahead, the mountain trail has become treacherously narrow. On one side, the mountainside plunges into unseen depths below. I stand at eye level with the tops of fir trees rooted far beneath me. Worse still, the trail is covered with snow that has begun to melt and freeze again. It's not the soft snow that one can tromp through. It proves to be a stumbling block that could very well result in my untimely demise, should I risk it. I have to turn back. Somewhere nearby, the sound of rushing water taunts me, so close and yet so far. The waterfall that I so desperately want to see remains unattainable. Though I have not reached my goal, and the mountain has proven once more that I am just a flea crawling on its back, I begin my journey back down the trail with a lighter heart. Along the way, I have seen a landscape that I never would have seen otherwise. I may not have reached my goal, but I refuse to let that deter me. The scenery, the very same scenery I saw coming up, seems all the more beautiful as I return to the base. Though my nose is still used to the scent of the conifer trees, I brush my hand through the needles of a low-hanging branch. They prickle against my skin and leave a tiny amount of residue along my fingertips. I raise my hand to my nostrils and take a deep breath. The sweetness of sap assaults my nose, and I smile.